What made you lose trust in authority figures as a kid? When I was 10, my social worker tried to put me back into a home with my bio father, despite fully knowing that he was physically abusive. Her name was Linda, and she seemed very nice at first. She'd visit every few weeks and ask how I was doing, and always seemed happy when I told her about how nice my new parents were. But then out of nowhere, she started bringing up my bio father. She would ask weird questions like whether I ever missed him. I told her absolutely not, and reminded her that he used to hit me and lock me in my room for hours. She would nod and write something down, but then the next visit bring him up again. The questions got more frequent and more pushy. Instead of every few weeks, it was every week and then twice a week. And during every meeting, she'd sit me down and give me statistics on how kids who get hit can sometimes end up as higher achievers in life, and if I was sure my father's abuse wasn't just him having high standards for me. She kept pushing this narrative about my father being a misunderstood man who deserved a second chance. I kept asking her why she was doing this, but she never really gave me an answer, just said years of social work has taught her what's best for the child. I was getting really anxious and confused, and then Linda dropped a bomb on me. She told me my biological father had officially petitioned for reunification and wanted me back. She presented this like it was wonderful news while I sat there feeling sick to my stomach. She used all this official language about how the department always prioritizes keeping families together and made it sound like I had no choice in the matter. I begged her to stop this, but she became cold and administrative. She scheduled something called a reunification assessment meeting, despite my protests. The Johnsons hired a lawyer, which made me realize how serious this was getting. I kept asking Linda why she was pushing this so hard when she could see how upset it was making me, but she just kept talking about department policy. The worst part was the supervised visits she forced me to have with my bio father. He would put on this fake show for Linda about how much he had changed and how sorry he was. But when she stepped out of the room, he would lean over and whisper things like, "You better not mess this up for me, and remember what happens to little boys who lie." These visits were traumatic, but Linda kept scheduling more of them. She said they were going well and that my father had completed all his required programs. I tried to tell her about the threats, but she would just write something down and say we needed to work through my attachment issues. The court hearing was the worst day of my life. Linda presented these reports that were complete lies about my mental state. She claimed I had been struggling with attachment issues with the Johnsons and that I had expressed a desire to return to my father. I was sitting there listening to her describe a completely different kid while my bio father sat there with fake tears, talking about how much he missed me. When the judge asked me directly what I wanted, I broke down crying and begged him not to send me back. I said I was terrified of my biological father and that the Johnsons were my real family. The judge looked confused because Linda's report said something totally different. I told the judge about the threats my bio father made during supervised visits when Linda wasn't listening. My bio father got agitated and said I was lying, but the way he said it was angry and mean, and the judge could see it. The Johnsons' lawyer presented evidence about my improvement in school and how stable I had become. Mr. Johnson testified about our daily routines and how I had started calling them mom and dad on my own. The judge said my testimony was clear and credible. He denied the reunification petition and cleared the way for the Johnsons to finalize my adoption. My bio father stormed out yelling. Linda looked shocked, like she couldn't believe her plan hadn't worked. We finally won. I was finally safe. But then 6 months later, Linda showed up at our door again. But this time, it wasn't to question me, but to actually give me the answers I've been wanting. She said this was no excuse, but she never wanted me to go back to my dad. She knew how detrimental it would have been for me all along, but she had no choice. She told me that social workers like her were evaluated based on reunification quotas, and that her supervisor required her to meet these quotas. She had been falling behind and risked losing her job. She was a single mother to newborn twins at home and was struggling financially. She said she was sorry, but she had to choose her own babies over me. She cried on my shoulder, wanting me to understand what she did wasn't personal. She walked away that day, and I never saw her again. I don't know where she is now, but I hope she's okay.